Hello, Shapers. Welcome to the Coffee with Curators. Our today's guest curator is from one of the most famous city in the world, a city of love, a city which is a global center for art, fashion, and culture. It's my pleasure to welcome curator of Paris Hub, Andress Bedoya. Benjor,
Hello, everybody. Thanks for inviting me.
comment allez-vous?
Très bien, très bien.
So before starting our today's episode, I would like to thank Andres and Paris Hub for giving Shapers energetic and warm welcome who visited Paris after annual curators meeting. And I have 1 second. I have a photo also. I want to share so that people can. Ooh. So Andres, would you like to share some memories about it?
Yeah, sure. So it was like more than 30 curators that came after the annual curatorship meeting. We had like three events, two around gastronomy, drinks, and stuff like that. Like sharing a good time, and one that was doing some sport. So we actually sweated up under the rain. It was mostly shapers from Paris that were sweating, and the others just like watching them and drinking. But well, the intention was there.
Great. So can you tell us a bit about your professional background and how you become involved with the Global Shapers community?
Yeah, so I'm an electronic engineer by training. And then afterwards, I moved to the innovation space. So I went to two schools, one in Paris, one at Stanford, to learn about the user-centered or human-centered approaches. Then I worked for the different companies, and I was a professor in a university here, and was doing consulting for private companies. And then I wanted to move. I wanted to use these kind of methods, like human-centered methods, to design social innovations. So I moved towards like doing innovations for communities, indigenous communities, islands like Galapagos Island or things like that. Was super interesting. And then I moved towards a more systemic change. So I wanted to work with public officials. So I worked with governors and different presidents' agencies like in Latin America, Argentina, Mexico, Panama, and doing international cooperation. And afterwards, I decided to join the government staff in order to apply innovation policies to advance solutions to social issues. So right now, I'm working in the Ministry of Labor in France, and I'm part of a laboratory of innovation that explores ways to reduce unemployment, like a national level. So we do pilot projects in different scales, like one to all the regions. And then whatever works from there, we do the necessary change to make it happen for everyone. So this necessary change might come with the changes in laws or regulation or like financing. So we create public policies in this way. That's kind of like my professional background, and what I'm doing right now. And how I discovered the Global Shapers community was by friends that were in the social impact area. And then they say like, hey, look, I've heard what you have done, and I think you will be a very good global shaper, and you have this local and global approach, and that would be very interesting if you join us. So I considered it, and I applied, and then I started like 3 years and a half ago in the Global Shapers community.
So can you walk us through your journey from joining the Global Shapers community and becoming the curator of the Paris Hub?
Yeah, so when I joined, I started like helping on some initiatives that the hub had, like cleaning streets, doing awareness campaigns for climate change or things like that. And I joined the comms teams. So in the comms teams, I wanted to implement some activities in order for us to get to know each other and to get to know in a more intimate way. In terms of, when I say intimate, I'm saying like the inner side of each of us. So we did some pecha kucha. I don't know if you know this format, which is like 30 images, and each image is like 6 seconds, and just with images you show what you want to your peers. So I implemented these kind of activities, and then I applied to be the impact officer. So I was the first, like when impact officer role was created. So we were like at that time, I remember nobody knew what impact officer was. Is it part of the governance bodies or not? What is the way they have their decisions? So I focused on helping projects since it was my background, like applying these methodologies of innovation and social innovation. I helped projects in order to get more mature and to progress in the way they do social impact. That was like a whole period of impact officer. Then I applied to be vice curator with Juan Felipe, that at the time was a curator. And then at the end of this, I said, I would like to test, I would like to learn how to be in these kind of executive positions, as because the curator in France, as the NGO, works as the president of the NGO. So it's like you have to have this vision, and I know we will speak a little bit further, like, and more about what a curator means, but that was the intention I had behind, like, how can I help the hub, and how can in the meantime as well, like, how can I accomplish my learning goals, right? And my learning goals at that time was to learn more about management, to learn more about social impact management and stuff like this. So that's how naturally I came to be a curator with my current vice curator, Constance, which is amazing. And we do a great team with our impact officer as well. Maxime, maybe you know it. Know him.
So let's start our main part of session, that is project. So can you tell us about some projects the Paris Hub is currently working on, and what are the main focus areas of those projects, and also if any upcoming projects or initiatives Paris Hub is planned or for the future?
Yes, for sure. Like we have some projects. One of them is being there for a long time already. Has changed names, but not the core mission that they have. So the first one is to help women thrive in the workplace and contribute closing the gender gap. Of course, men are included in this approach, and the idea is organizing workshops and webinars to give women the necessary tools to be ambitious and succeed in their careers. The team meet like every 2 weeks, and then they do seminars and webinars and invite amazing people to aboard, like to help on these kind of topics, right? So burnout in the workplace, negotiation of salaries, legitimate actions, like am I legitimate or not to do this or that? So they have like difficult conversations on these topics with leaders that show that this is possible, and give tips on how this can be improved, right? That's one of them. Another one, which is like also is Connexio soft skills workshops. We partner up with Connexio, which is the organization of one of our shapers. But this action is to advance solutions for refugee inclusion and education for all. So the idea here is to organize workshops led by a team of 2 shapers on how to create a curriculum vitae, LinkedIn interviews, or other job search skills. And so yeah, so monthly or bimestral, like we do these workshops, and then we help people on improving on these skills, right? How to curriculum vitae, how to identify their skills and put it out there and show what are their skills in job interviews. We have also a Paris Need Report. The aim is to conduct extensive research on the current needs and ambitions of the youth in Paris. So the idea is like to interview public officials, NGOs, or others, and furnish contact people for the projects, so that they can understand what are the key main areas of that the public policy are addressing, but also what are the topics, the hot topics that NGOs and all of the ecosystem is addressing right now. The idea is not to be disconnected from the local side of the problems, and to do grassroots solutions through grassroots problems, right? So Paris Need Report helps on this. And then we have also a project that will start in the spring to 2023. So it's like right now it's under like preparation, under cooking. It's called Kids Green Project. The idea is to advance solutions on climate change, and mostly in awareness of how we can improve nutrition of youth from socially and economically disadvantaged contexts. And the idea is to offer a ludic and positive extracurricular activities where the families will be the center of the action, right? So it's, of course, it's for children, but then it will be with their parents. They will learn about urban farming, community gardening organizations, nutrition, ecology, what we eat, and where this comes from, right? So reducing the distance where the things are harvested towards and how they arrive to our plate, right? So this is something will be the pilot project will be launched in spring 2023. And then we have another ambitious project, which is called the Shapers Development Agency. And the Shapers Development Agency aims at raising, some money in order to give seed investment for global Shapers projects around the world. So for the moment, we have more than 5 hubs that are interested, just in being part of the discussion, right? And the idea is to raise some funds and help Shapers to have some seed money. So Shapers Development Agency would be pilot. I mean, the pilot is being launched, will be launched by Paris, but then the idea is that we not only give seed money, but also we accompany people in order to have some tools and have some resources for them to develop their project. So those are the main projects we have right now. And we have a lot of initiatives that are undergoing, right? But these are projects, and then activities we have many others. But as you see, the general topics are inclusion, education for all, climate change, and international cooperations. And we have a very early stage project in strengthening institutions. So it's how we re-enchant the democracy by understanding that democracy is not only voting and paying taxes, but it's also being there where the decisions are being made and contributing from our perspectives on how public policies can be improved and how lives of people can be improved through lawmaking, but also through political activism or others.
Great. So Andress, a few years ago, World Economic Forum has shared a video on global refugee crisis. In that video, they predicted 1 billion people face the problem of refugee by the year of 2030. And due to the problem like climate change. So most of the refugee migrate to the capital city like Paris because of the employment opportunities there. But they face problems like language barrier, skill mismatch, and the lack of supportiveness and professional network further hinder their integration. So I think to solve this problem, I saw your one project called upskilling for refugees, global refugee upskilling. Can you share something about it? Because it was very interesting project. You collaborated with more than 5-6 hub, I think, across the Europe.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Right now we're not working on that project, but when we launched it, it was the intention was really good, and the idea was very ambitious. The time it needed and the not only the international aspect and the coordination of different hubs was kind of a strong barrier, but also we discovered the idea was to have some workshop material that we do in each one of the countries, and the idea was to translate it and to put it into the upskilling library so that anyone can take this workshop material and do it in their own language, right? So to help in different barriers that, as you mentioned, refugees were living. But what happened is the time investment and the added value and it was very difficult to see for each one of the partners, and I think this just slowly shut down to not a strong action. But yet, in Paris, there is a lot of activities that a lot of associations, and France has invested a lot of money in terms of exploring how to integrate better and how to do some refugees inclusion. But we are not directly related to this material, besides the Connexio project. As I was telling you, this is like addressed for refugees, so that they can understand what are their skills, because sometimes this is something that happens not only to refugees but to everyone. Understanding what are your soft and hard skills is sometimes difficult, but then also to understand what is the way you present these skills in order to find a job. So these workshops are all about that, understanding what are the biases that the recruiters have, what are the kind of language you need to use in order to be like an interesting profile, and understanding what are like the way how you can how you can show yourself and the things you can do in order to find a job. Yeah.
So I think we need to work on this problem worldwide, because it's like 1 billion is not a very small figure, and climate change is like a most important factor for the today's world and the problem we are facing. So, can you tell us about the partnerships and collaboration the Paris Hub has with the government, private companies, and social NGOs? Because it's like they are the most important stakeholders for our project implementation.
Yes. So for the moment, we have a partnership with, as I was telling you, with this association Connexio, for understanding what are the real needs that they identify from refugees. So how can we add value with them? We partnered up like some years ago with an electricity company that, in exchange of like showing them what were our perspectives on the technology, the new technology they wanted to implement, they did donations to our organization. We partnered up as well with consulting firms that wanted also to have the perspective of different sectors, and they did also some donations. We partnered up with some events like the Women's Forum, the International Women's Forum, where we had some shapers that participated in the panels, like either like they were participating as assisting the panels, but also we have a shaper that was a panelist and interviewed the Ministry of Equal Access to Opportunities and Gender Gap. So that also like is a partnership that we had. And we have a partnership with Change Now, and we invite a lot of curators. Actually, if some of the curators are watching this, we invite a lot of curators to join us in this next trimester, where we will be gathering all the European investment funds, NGOs, and policymakers, and in Paris, just in front of the Eiffel Tower, actually. So the idea is like to have a delegation from Global Shapers, where we show the social impact projects that we have that can benefit from funding, from European funding.
Really
That's
amazing.
kind of like most of them. We are waiting for the answer from the Shape. We applied to be hosting Shape Europe. That's another thing that is in the pipeline. And more recently, we have also this Walk It Back campaign. I don't know if you have heard of it, but it's like it's Craig. It's a guy that is like was a C-suite level C-level executive from Coca-Cola. That he's already retired, but he wanted to. He calculated his carbon footprint, and he wanted to walk it back, as he's called it. So he's walking from London to Istanbul, and in the process, bringing like a container with the carbon removal technologies, showing what he has invested in, and then having some discussions with public officials. We will have this discussion Tuesday with some of our shapers, showing our perspectives on climate change and the actions that we can put into place, like the Kids Green Project, as I told you, but also participating on Change Now, or having a fund as a seed fund to finance climate actions, but in Paris, because we think like we need more like local actions and awareness. Being aware of what the global problems are is super important, but also having a strong foundations based on the grassroots actions is super important.
Yeah, Paris Agreement on climate change. So, at last, would you like to say something to shapers, or any advice, suggestion for shapers across the world who are working to make positive impact in their communities?
Yes, I mean, that's a very huge responsibility. But from my perspective, I think we are in an era, and we see that Davos has focused on this, an era of cooperation and radical cooperation, or strong cooperation. I think we have the technology, and we have like built a lot of ways of doing things, like financial in lawmaking, like financial institutions in lawmaking, or in actually technology. We have a lot that has been built in the last century, and I think we have to work further in having better partnerships, in working with different perspectives, having an approach that is intersectorial, with private, public, and like the thing about creating partnerships with strong partnership with different stakeholders, for me is something that can help to do a lot of positive impact. That's from one side, and the other thing that I think is super, let's say, hard to do, and sometimes annoying, and can be regarded as like even like sometimes a waste of time, even though it's not, and it's about evaluation. Defining what are the objectives of where we want to do positive change, and actually putting into place the ways of collecting data, and actually at the end evaluating what is the gap between the objectives and the final result, is something that is really underrated, and we need to put more effort on it, because we cannot continue advancing in a direction that is not actually bringing us to the positive impact we want to create. So tools like theory of change are super interesting to create a vision, but tools for evaluation and monitoring and evaluation are as important as the ones that we put into place in order to do all the actions that we want to conduct.
So thank you so much, Andres, for being here with us today and sharing your story as per your experience and your hub initiatives, projects, and a lot more. And finally, your advice and suggestions for the future leadership of Global Shapers community. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, and I hope this finds you well, all of you that are watching. And do not hesitate in contacting us, Toplink, LinkedIn, whatever it's interesting for you. I mean, we're super open in Paris for new initiatives, and of course, like hearing your perspectives on the topics we're interested on. Thank you very much.